I would mention here that our guest of honor and eminent speaker, architect Abraham Petros, has joined us. I request Dr. Rajesh Ragre to felicitate and welcome him. So friends, we have reached up to the end of this beautiful inaugural session. On behalf of the center and department, I, Harshada, thank you all dignitaries for gracing this session, and we will shortly start our technical session. So I request all participants to be seated at their place. Meanwhile, technical committee will do required arrangements. Thank you.
So I think again I must be sincerely thankful to Dr. Madhuri and Dr. Prasad, and especially Professor Sandhi for giving me this opportunity. So my topic is untapped and unbound potential for Indo-Sri Lanka Buddhist tourism development. When you look at Sri Lanka, it is located in a very valuable hub. All the navigations and other transports are connected with Sri Lanka. That is why Sri Lanka has been recognized as a country which is having a good location in the world. So when you see the Ptolemy map, he has shown Sri Lanka as a big country. I don't know why, because sometime at that time Sri Lanka must be very important for the country's world development. Yes. So Marco Polo clearly mentioned that Sri Lanka was the finest island of its size of the entire world. That is, Marco Polo has actually named Sri Lanka as the most beautiful country. So when you look at, you can see some cultural activities and cultural things which is not unfamiliar for Indians, because Indians' culture is very, very dominant Sri Lankan culture. So next slide. So we have three major religions: Buddhism and Hinduism, Christian and Muslims. We have four major religions in Sri Lanka. And when Kotla came to Sri Lanka, he actually flew over the country. Then he said Sri Lanka. He mentioned it so much and so little. We are a very small country. It is 63 times smaller than your country. But Kotla, who is the marketing professor, he said Sri Lanka is so much in so little because of uniqueness, diversity, compactness, authenticity, and the friendliness of the people. So we have a different cuisine, different attractions, and we have beautiful beaches, and we have, Ceylon tea. It is one of the best tea in the world. And we have very eco-friendly hotels. So Sri Lanka, some hotels actually got world ranking. So nature-friendly environment. But in Sri Lanka tourism development, when we talk about that one, in the Sri Lanka relationship is undividable. So we have an undividable relationship because our religions came from India, our culture came from India, our livelihood pattern came from India, language, cuisines. I think Sri Lanka has everything what India has given to us. Close proximity is a very important factor for determining Sri Lanka and India's tourism. So, Indian national going abroad, according to data I collected from the Google, now you are making more than 20 million outbound tourists. So let's see how many tourists are coming to Sri Lanka. So India is the highest tourist generator of the country. So China is second, and UK, Germany and other Western countries are actually having less than the number of tourist arrivals. But we have foreign tourists, more than 2 million tourists. When you look at this curve also explaining that tourist arrivals from different countries, India has the highest tourist generator for Sri Lanka. When you look at Indian tourist arrival to Sri Lanka as a total proportion of outbound tourists, we are reaching only 1.2%. So most of them are coming for pleasure purposes. In addition, they are coming for business. But religious and cultural tourism attraction is very small number. It is only 4%. So, but anyway, now average duration in they stay in Sri Lanka is 9 days. And when we did a survey, we found that the factors determine, except business purposes, Indian tourists arrival to Sri Lanka, the highest number of tourists are coming to Sri Lanka to the heritage. So the attractive site for Indian tourists, Anuradhapura and Polonnaruwa is the highest attractive place. That is actually Buddhist cultural sites. In addition, they have night shopping and other activities also very attractive. Especially Indians are enjoying with the shopping and spicy food. So Indian investments are happening in Sri Lanka very much, especially for tourism industry. So the Indian direct investment, we have Vayanta by Taj Samudra, then Gateway Hotels and the ITC Sheraton and Marriott and Chris Group. All the hotel chains have invested their money in Sri Lanka. So I like to show the possible relationship, religious tourism in Sri Lanka, especially as Creative Professor Sandeep explained. We had a very good discussion and I invited Professor Sandeep to train our staff, especially those who are promoting Rama trails, Lord Rama trails. So then Professor Sandeep was the most valuable resource person. So that story is going 200 years before, but I like to show you some attractions. So this is the Rumasala hill. That is actually, we believe that one part of the hill when this is actually where Sita Amman was kept. And this is the Sita Amman temple in Nuwareli area. This is very, I think Professor Sandeep has gone these places. And this is the waterfalls, very popular for this historical incident. This is the Lord Hanuman's footprint. This is the big footprint. Nobody knows how it's created. That is the evidence of the history. Sita Amman temple is there. So now I like to talk about the untapped Buddhist tourism. So we believe that we have when we look at the world population of Buddhists, the Christians are the highest, 31%. I think Buddhist world population 6.9%. So Buddhists as a Buddhist all over the world represent only 6%. So then when you look at the Buddhist tours in India, we can find different areas. Actually, this is actually connection of the Buddhist site. And when we see the sites, most part of the India is located having Buddhist attraction, especially because of Lord Buddha's born country. So when you look at Sri Lanka, you can see the Sri Lanka also having Buddhist destination site. Anuradhapura, Polonnaruwa, especially Kandy. Kandy, we have a Buddhist, the very valuable place, Lord Buddha relics. Actually, you can see in the Kandy area, a lot of tourists are coming from different parts. So when you look at the Buddhism, we have a Theravada, Mahayana, Vajrayana, and Sri Lanka is very popular for Theravada Buddhism. We have more than 70% of population is Buddhist, those who are following Theravada Buddhism. So India, I think India having only less than 1% of Buddhist, but proportion of Theravada and Mahayana, I think, I don't know some idea, but there will be a certain percentage. So pilgrim Buddhist popular destination in Sri Lanka, the Anuradhapura, Polonnaruwa, Adams Peak, and the Kataragama and Kandy. Kataragama is a very good place because it's a combination of Hindu and Buddhist religious practices. Both Hindus and Buddhists are worship the same place. This is the Anuradhapura area. So basically, if you really want to make Buddhist tourism planning and development we call the SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant and time bound. I'm going to talk about that area now, how we can develop Buddhist tourism in Indo-Sri Lanka relationship. You know that Sri Lanka is a very small country. Being small, we have to be smart, because that is, we are believing that. So being a small country, we cannot have a mass scale benefit like China and India. Therefore, we are trying our best to keep Sri Lanka as a smart destinations. So as you know that the economies of scale we cannot take on, but we can take the economies of scope, variety of product in a one place. So then I like to ask if you can tell me what is meant by tourist. Who is tourist? Tourist. And what is the difference between tourist and tourism and travel and tourism? What is the difference between travel and tourism? So I got a very good definition from the internet. So travelers see what they see, but tourists see what they want to see. So that is the difference. So on this difference, we have to think about how to promote Buddhist tourism based on the Indo-Sri Lanka relationship. So you know that noble truth of Buddhism, there are life inevitably moves the suffering. Suffering originates from desire. There is a way to remove the suffering if all desires cease, and there is a way to realize the state that is we call noble eightfold path. But as you know that tourism is neither optimistic or pessimistic, especially Buddhism is neither optimistic or pessimistic, it is realistic. We have to be realistic. But there are several beliefs, okay, they believe optimism and they believe the pessimism, but Lord Buddha said us, okay, don't be pessimistic or optimistic, but you have to be realistic. So, when you look at the Noble Eightfold path to liberations, right to understanding, right thought of motives, right speech, right actions, then right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right meditations. So these are the things we have to think for Buddhist tourism promotions, especially the middle path. We cannot forget the middle path. Middle path is the things we have to practice. So practice of non-exorcisms, middle path actually eradicate the exorcism of self-indulgence and opposing the self-motivation. So therefore, meditation helps us. Why I am telling this concept? If you really want to promote Buddhist tourism, we have to adhere the basic principle of Buddhism. So this is why we have to follow the middle path. We have to follow the eightfold. So then you look at the recent advertisement in some Indian travel agencies. They are telling that middle path tours, 7 days, 8 nights. So the Bodh Gaya covering places and duration 7 nights. There are different type of travel packages you can see. But if you really want to promote Buddhist tourism, we have to understand the basic principle of Buddhism. Otherwise, we are diverted from other direction, as Professor Sandeep clearly mentioned. So, when I look at I am economics, I am actually especially environmental economics. So, I have been taught by my teachers, okay, if you want to value a tree of 700 years old, how we can value it? So you have to find out the ways to cultivate a tree for 700 years. Then you understand the cost of the value of the 700 years tree. But same thing we can apply for the culture. If you want to make a culture what we have right now in India, what we have in Sri Lanka, so if you want to make the culture what we have, that will take more millions of years, thousands of years. So therefore, value of the culture, value of the belief what we are having is very important. So Buddhism is the one religion always respecting the culture and the values. So simple life is one concept with Buddhism. If tourists are coming with simple life, The whole tourism, what we are talking right now, has to be changed. Because they are not asking luxurious environmental disasters, amenities, facilities. They are asking the very simple life. What is happening today, bottomless greedy, create excessive and unnecessary demand. At the same time, endless competitions and self-destructions and environmental damage. All these are coming because of we don't have a simple life. Simple life is the core factor, must be a core factor for Buddhist tourism. So, Buddhism and nature, you can see, always Buddha has delivered his first speech, first sermon at the deer park near the Saranath under the shade of Bo tree. So that's the first lesson he has given us. You have to respect the nature. Over-exploitation of natural resources are not in the Buddhism tourism. Buddhist tourism, we always respect the nature. We have been known that triple R, but we have to add another R right now. What is refuse some consumptions? Earlier, rehabilitate, reconstruction, relief, but the other one is recycle, reuse, but we have to add another R that is actually refuse. In Buddhism, we are refusing some consumption because it can damage for the environment. So, there is when you want to talk about the customer, responsible customer, we have been talking about that one in our tourism studies. What is responsible customer? Lord Buddha has given a very valuable insight. That is we call golden rule. You have to treat the customer to be treated like you being others. That is the golden rule. If you want to satisfy the customer, you understand if you are the customer, how you would be treated by others. Same way you have to apply for the customer. That is Lord Buddha's statement, that is the golden rule. Therefore, whatever tourists come to trade, India or Sri Lanka, we have to find out how we can communicate the customer. Understand one golden principle is you have to treat the customer as you like to be treated by others as a customer. At the same time, we cannot promote Buddhist tourism having mentioning that, okay, you come to 5-star hotel and stay these type of facilities. That is not in Buddhist tourism. We appreciate all the time simple life. So respect. Respect is in our Buddhism. Because always we are respecting. So Buddhism is the most tolerable the religion in the world. So therefore, respect to others is very important. Therefore, when we talk about the Buddhist tourism, we are talking about the Buddhism. We are talking about the basic principle of Buddhism. So when you look at the sustainable tourism development, you know that, okay, there are 3 dimensions we are talking. One is community development, community well-being. The other one is economic development and ecological balance. So this is what we have known and studied right now. So when you look at the same concept in Buddhism, you can see the Buddhism always talking about all 3 as triangle. This is actually inside the Buddhism. They are practicing it. Even Sri Lanka, you can see a lot of sites. You go to those sites, you can have a meditation and you respect the nature. You will have the simple life. This is normally happening. So you know that today the World Tourism Organization is telling that the balance in the 5 P's: planet, people, profit, peace, and partnership. This is the World Tourism UNWTO World Tourism slogan. But slogan is always talking about Buddhist tourism. We always talk about the planet, people, and profit. It is the reasonable profit, because that is actually Buddha's statement that is very clearly mentioned, peace and partnership. So that partnership is very important. So when you look at the global goals, sustainable development goals, you can see there are 17 goals. All goals are being addressed by Buddhism. There is no doubt about that one. All the goals are in our Buddhism doctrine. So therefore, we have to practice those doctrine. That is a very important thing. Next slide. Then what are the key challenges? This is what actually Dr. Madhuri is asking. Okay, what are the key challenges if we really want to make Buddhist tourism promoting Indo Sri Lanka? So that's the last session. Okay, now uniqueness of Buddhist tourism in Sri Lanka. The very important thing is, if you are going to promote Buddhist tourism, this tourism should be unique. This shouldn't be the other type of tourism. We have to have a unique type of tourism. So how we are going to make a unique type of tourism? So that is the most important challenge we are facing. Otherwise, what is happening? Okay, there can be different type of tourism, religious tourism, but ultimately you have no uniqueness. Therefore, you have no special demand on your tourism. Next slide. So Buddhist tourism is actually connected with the new experience, new income generations, and responsible tourism demand. So without having income generation, I don't think we can sustain for Buddhist tourism. Therefore, we have to have a certain relationship, these three angles. So new experience must be given based on the Buddhist philosophy. So at the same time, we have been seeing that Buddhist tourism can be combined with the community tourism, wellness tourism, agro-tourism, heritage tourism. There can be various connections. You cannot promote only Buddhist tourism by preaching the Dhamma or practicing Dhamma. We have to find out other type of collaboration and connectivity. So biggest problem we are facing right now, we are talking a lot of things about the income, but the most important thing is how much value added we are keeping with our own society, and fair distribution. Fair distribution of tourism income is very important. And these are the three major areas we are facing right now. Even today we see Sri Lanka tourism is growing, making the record growth, but unfortunately the income is not remaining with the people, and there is no fair distribution of the income. That is the challenge we are facing right now. So therefore, Buddhist tourism must ensure the income enhancement, employment, economic growth, foreign exchange earning, and government revenue. This is our expectation. So we can talk about the philosophy, but ultimately if we come to reality, we have to make some economic benefit. So that is the very important thing. This expansion is very important through the Buddhist tourism. Now Sri Lanka has been recognized several key themes. In one theme is heritage and prestige. At the same time, we have not recognized as a theme that is for Buddhist tourism. That is why I'm actually thinking that, okay, whether we are going to right directions. So we have a huge expectation on religious tourism, because we have been known that this is a great potential, be untapped, untouched, but there is unbound potentials. But if we cannot develop the tourism in the right direction, ultimately what is happening, sometimes our Buddhist practitioners will be more commercialized. Therefore, we have to be very careful promoting religious tourism, Buddhist tourism. We should not make it more commercialized, then that will be a damage for whole system. Therefore, we have to think about, you can't change the religions according to the customer. But in our tourism philosophy, we are telling that we can change the product according to customer. But it is so, we have to be very careful when we are promoting especially religious tourism. We should not over-commercialize our religions. Ultimately, the spiritual value of that religion can be disappeared. Therefore, okay, next slide. So you have been known actually product levels and augment of product and actual product, but we have to be very careful about using the traditional marketing tools for religious tourism, because ultimately we have to enhance the value of our religions rather than making the value creation on that, especially because that will damage whole belief and whole culture and whole system. Right, then how we can, in Sri Lanka, Buddhist tourism can promote, I think one of the biggest challenges we are facing about getting visa. Visa is a problem, and the safety environment in Sri Lanka and India, qualified human resources available in both countries, connectivity, and attitudes. So all these aspects we have to think about how we can train the human. So there is a tourism phobia right now. People don't like tourism, right? All over the world now there's a concept is coming, we don't need tourism. Even in Spanish, even in other countries, they against tourism. That is why they don't like tourism, because of tourism is creating trouble for the normal people because of this carrying capacity. Therefore, especially when we are promoting Buddhist tourism in particular site, we have to be very careful. We should not damage its spiritual and subjective values. That is very important. Ultimately, finally, we would like to talk about the fair trade, how we can ensure the fair trade in food Buddhist tourism. Because otherwise, there will be another businessman coming, they are making money and damaging the belief, damaging the religions. So therefore, we have to be very careful. That may happen when we are promoting Buddhist tourism. Therefore, we have to have a certain consent among the people. Okay, we will make business, but don't damage the religion, right? So, fair trade opportunities for disadvantaged producers, especially for the people, those who have in SME sector, and transparency, accountability, and fair trade practices, fair payment, no child labor, no forced labor using. There are some principles developed by UNWTO. So we have to adhere with those things. Most of the practices we have seen that there is no fair trade. So then, this is a very important area I would like to highlight in my presentation. Why I'm telling this one, many type of tourism come into the world, but ultimately it is ending with few people, and that will damage the environment, that will degrade the culture, that will make antagonistic attitude on people. So therefore, we have to be very careful. So a recommendation for develop Indo-Sri Lanka Buddhist tourism, infrastructure development, Buddhist centers, creating special tour packages, increasing number of Buddhist air travels in both countries, release more publication on Buddhist tourism in both countries, organize both language program for all Buddhist centers operators, organize Buddhist educational exchange program, specialized agency responsible maintain the monuments, promotional campaign for Buddhist, develop Buddhist tourism, organize meditation and yoga program in both countries, introduce more activities engaged during the Buddhist tourism. That is very important. So just going to the site and worshipping may not be more attractive. Especially organizing Buddhist tourism conference like this. This is the first ever Buddhist tourism conference. I think this is the initial start we have taken. Finally, I like to mention vision without action, just merely a dream. Action without visions passes the time. Vision with action change the world. So I think we will start with a vision with actions. But vision is very important because this is a very variable area we are going to touch, because Buddhists, they have their own value that should not be damaged. At the same time, Buddhist tourism has to be encouraged, and the Buddhists must be very enthusiastic and euphoric on this type of tourism development. But I will promise you, Sri Lanka will take the second workshop. So we are going to have the second workshop with your all support, with this experience. There will be a lot of publications, and there will be some guideline for Buddhist tourism. That's very important. If you develop an international level guideline and code of ethics for running the Buddhist tourism, that would be great. I think India must take the leadership, and all other Buddhist countries must come forward and develop a code of ethics. Otherwise, what is happening? We have a code of ethics for ecotourism, we have a code of ethics for practice guideline for hotel operations, but we have to develop code of ethics or some guideline, international guideline for Buddhist tourism. Otherwise, that will be another disaster for Buddhism. So we will work together and develop a good guideline and ethic and team. So ultimately, we can see today investment, today's seed will be growing forever. That is why I told Dr. Madhuri, you have started a very valuable opportunity for us. We will work together, and this is ever growing, this is ever developing seed you have planted right now. we will see in future there will be international conferences in Buddhist tourism with all support. Thank you very much. Anybody wants to ask question? Okay, I'm ready to give my answers.
In fact, I was just sitting with the other fellow, and he said that there is a requirement of the knowledge of Singhali also.
Malaysia?
Singhali.
Yeah.
So I'm just exploring how the student of this department can visit your place. Maybe transportation here. Well, they can be here. Some subsidy like accommodation or certain things. Your university can provide, your department can provide. Subsequently, while they are visiting that place, they can discuss, interact with the fraternity, guide fraternity or other about the basics of Hindu.
Yes.
Because you are receiving large chunk of Indian tourists, whereas here also large chunk of Buddhist tourists are coming, especially from Sri Lanka. So they may be provided a platform, the student community, for the benefit of their own exposure as well as for the benefit of for the academy.
Yeah, I think we can definitely do it because we have resources on it. So only matter is when you are coming and how you are coming. So the other part we can definitely solve, and we are delighted to support you. And because at the same time I'm requesting, okay, when you come there, Indians are the highest number of tourists, but Hindu language based tour guides are very lacking actually. They are talking in English, but when you are being contacted with your own language, you can feel better than the other foreign language. So therefore, this is a good idea, Professor. You said we will work together and we will see the formula and we will see the ways and means how we can do it. But I want to tell you now, example, highest number of outbound tourists from Sri Lanka is going to India. More than 500,000 every year. So therefore, I want to see some sort of training from your side, especially for making more enhancement for Sri Lankans coming to Buddhist site. So this is a very good opportunity. We will think and design certain project for further development of our Buddhist tourism. Yes.
Can we collaborate and arrange for a 3 months crash course in Sinhalese language?
Yes, we can do it actually.
Side, your teacher can come.
Yes.
We can host him here.
Yes, that is a good idea. I think our government would be actually very happy. And with the support of Professor Sandeep and IITM, I think with your university, we will be able to get certain opportunities to develop this one. Ultimately, this is good for Buddhist tourism because that's a very practical aspect you raise actually. I'm so happy about that.
Because in India we are teaching German, French, Japanese, all these languages along with Russian. But we don't teach Korean or Sinhalese. We want these languages to come.
Yes, it's a golden opportunity for us. We are so happy. We will see how we can do it. That's a good idea. Very good, okay. So then at the same time, the other students, especially those who are doing the Indian tour guides, they would like to know about the Hindi language. They know very Hindi songs and they know most of the cricketers in India. But the problem is they don't know how to promote Indian tourists, those who are coming for Buddhist cultural site. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. studied in our university, but now is well established in Japan. So sir, welcome so much. Now we will hear Dr. Chaitanya Bhandari.
Okay, you be there. It's all right. Okay, once upon very warm greetings to you all. I'm Chaitanya Bhandare, and as I mentioned in my, a few words when I was speaking earlier, that I have some problem in my throat. So please forgive me if there's some disturbances in my talk. Well, first of all, I would like to thank Professor Ragde and also Dr. Madhuri from this department. They have done a wonderful job of bringing so many people on the same platform. Oh, it's all right. Okay. So, the earlier speaker has presented really wonderful data on tourism in Sri Lanka. It was really like research oriented, and I'm sure students from this department must be, got a treasure of the Sri Lanka tourism from the earlier presentation. I am going to talk on Buddhist tourism in Japan. As mentioned in the introduction, I went to Japan in 2006 for my PhD, and I have been living in Japan since then. After finishing my education, I started my own company, and I have seen Japanese society from a very close distance. I lived in countryside areas where, in a coastal town, because my research was on oceans. So I had the experience of being in the Japanese society, like, the real Japanese society. If you go to some metropolitan cities in Japan, then, they are not like, real Japanese cities, or you cannot see the real Japanese life. Even cultural, activities, culture like practices. But if you go to countryside areas, I think it's common anywhere you go in the world. So today I'm going to introduce how tourism is working in Japan, and also few points from my own side. I'm sorry, I don't have much research data in me. It's just an overview. I'm not a professional expert in tourism, but I'm going to talk whatever I have seen with my own eyes and whatever I experienced, by staying in Japan. Next, please. Okay, as I introduce myself and also by Dr. Madhuri, I am Chaitanya Bhandare, and my company is IJAAI Corporation. Well, this is just an introduction. I'm not going to promote my company here. I just wanted to show you the name of the company. It is IJ. It means India, Japan, and I think, this is Marathi speaking state, so you all know the meaning of I is, I, mother, and in Japanese, I means love. So the story behind the naming of my company was, creating love, or kind of deepening love between these two countries. Next slide. Okay, coming straight to the point. Well, in front of me, I see many veteran researchers and people from Buddhist, this religious field. They know much more than me about how Buddhism spread all over the world. But what is commonly said in Japanese society, like when I have general discussions with the people, this was the route how Buddhism spread all over the world, right? It came from, it went from India to, different directions because of, thanks to Lord Ashoka. And finally from Korea to Japan. Okay, this is a very, very overview of how Buddhism entered Japan. It entered actually around 1600 years ago, and in 552 AD, Korean monks, they visited Japan. I don't know if you know about the religious practices in Japan, but in Japan, the original religion of the country was Shinto. Shinto means, praying gods. You cannot see the gods, as per the beliefs of Shinto religion. So they have shrines, but you don't see idols in there, because their belief is that, they pray to, like air and like sky and, all other elements. I think it's pretty much popular in many countries, the same practice. So 1600 years ago, when Buddhism, the monks visited Japan with, the message of Buddhism, they faced, obviously, they had to face Shinto religion, because it was like 100% country was Shinto believer. But later what happened, the Shinto leaders and the Buddhism, facing monks, they had kind of understanding between each other. So the Buddhism, it got merged with Shinto religion. And it's not like very, very strict Buddhist, or it was not very, very strictly Shinto as well. But some kind of gray zone was there between these two religions. Sorry. But later what happened, different researchers from Japan, they traveled to China. As Professor Rade sir said in his opening remark, these researchers like monks, they went to China by sea and they studied Buddhism in China. They brought back sutras with them. So it continued for many centuries. And then it followed by the temples and monastic communities. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is the main difference between Buddhism in Japan and Buddhism in many other, like Theravada following countries. There are many, many sects in Japan. These are the sects, just, I mentioned like the major sects that are practiced in Japan, but there are many more than this one as well. See, Japanese Buddhism, it's divided into mainly three parts. The Nara. Nara now was the area where Buddhism entered, and later these Heian Buddhists or Heian these practices, and also Zen, it entered Japan. So mainly three subcategories formed, and from Nara there were like 6 sects. From Heian Buddhism there were 2 sects, and Zen has 3 sects actually. But there were also few more sects that were not directly related with these things. So it was kind of complex kind of religion, having many classifications. But their goal, the base was obviously same. It was, Lord Buddha's teachings. Okay, and also, the Nichiren, Jodo, and Jodo Shin, the last word, what you can see there, Shin means new. So, Jodo Shin, Shu. Shu means the sect. So, if you go to Japan now, you find Jodo's Shinshu temples everywhere. So, they are the most practiced sect in Japan. Next, please. Okay, now coming to the point, current status of Buddhism in Japan. See, before going to Japan, I had the belief that almost 100% people follow Buddhism. But what I personally saw there, obviously the country was 100% Buddhist, but later the demographics are a little changed now. after Second World War mainly. Because what happened in Second World War, the Emperor of Japan was kind of regarded as God. So nobody used to even see his eyes. It was in the Second World War. Then whatever he used to say, that used to be the final word. And many people believe that in the Second World War, after Nagasaki and Hiroshima were bombed, they blame all those kind of war activities to the emperor. And after that, many people suddenly lost their interest in religion, because they thought that religion was one of the main reasons behind this war. I mean, not Buddhist religion actually, but some kind of, the word religion itself. Well, and mainly the victims felt so. So, around 70 to 80% people, they are very much practicing Buddhist. And after that, many people, they are Buddhist, like because their parents and their ancestors were Buddhist. So they just, they were born in those homes. But they don't really strictly follow Buddhist principles or, Buddhist practices. But most of these people have, Buddhism. I will show you the picture later. And the word funeral Buddhism is very, very popular in Japan. Actually, I found a Japan country kind of, I don't know if I could use the word funny, but there are some practices, they are, I think it's interesting. No matter what religion you followed, after you die, the funeral takes place as per the Buddhist religion. Okay, this is the very important point in that practice. But when New Year starts, on the first ray, to see the first sun ray, they go to shrines, that is Shinto. And many people, they are, mainly the youngsters, they have this craze of Hollywood. So they see, wedding ceremonies in the churches. So what they do, they go to church only on the wedding ceremony, just few people. They are not Christians, they don't follow Christianity, but they go just to, have that experience. So many religions are in Japan, but obviously Buddhism is the core of this entire society. So this funeral Buddhism term was coined because many people stopped actually practicing Buddhism, but their funeral was conducted conducted with the Buddhist practices. So the word funeral Buddhism. And as I told you, Buddhism, it's the altars at home. Just click the slide, please. Okay, so these are called Buddhisms. Buddhist means Buddha, and Dan means, kind of like place or home or kind of temple-like thing. So they have these Buddhisms in almost every home in Japan, other than the strictly Christian followers or other religion followers. And also they keep their ancestors' photographs in this Buddhism. Next, please. Okay, coming directly to the point where our today's conference is made for, the major pilgrimage in Japan. See, entire Japan is, kind of tourist place. You go anywhere, you will find beautiful sceneries. You go to, any place you will find Buddhist temples. But among them also, there are some very, very prominent places where you must visit if you are thinking of religious tourism or Buddhist tourism. If you miss one of them, then it wouldn't be complete religious, your tour. Obviously, you need a lot of time. So if you're time bound, then you have to select the top, places. The first one is Koyasan. Second is Nara. Third is Kyoto. And then this is Saikoku Kannon pilgrimage. And the last practice is Shikoku pilgrimage. Okay, next slide. Go back. Okay, just once. Okay, this is Koyasan. Actually, as Professor Ragde said, he visited Koyasan quite a few times and delivered lectures there. Also, our other faculty members. San means mountain. Koya is the place name. So Koyasan is Mount Koya. And it's located in Wakayama Prefecture. Actually, Wakayama Prefecture also has these official terms with Pune City. So if you go to Pune City in Maharashtra, you will find a kind of memorial that's made to symbolize the friendship between Wakayama and Pune. The Shingon sect is strictly followed there. And I must say, this is the most important Buddhist, purely Buddhist tourist destination in Japan. Last year, the Koya temples, they completed 1200 years. So entire 1 year, it was celebrated because 1200 years were completed when, monk Kukai, he came from China and he, had his settlement on the top of the mountain. Really beautiful place. Okay, the next one, please click once again. Okay. And this is the place. This is Nara. See, Japan's capital is Tokyo, right? Pretty simple thing. But it has been capital of Japan for last just 150 years, around that time. But before that, Kyoto was the capital of Japan. It was capital for 850 years, almost. And before Kyoto, Nara was the capital, Nara city. It was capital of Japan for almost 1300 years. So Nara is a very, very important city in the history of Japan. And in Nara, you will see, Todaiji is the main tourist attraction. This also is the world's biggest bronze statue is there, and world's biggest wooden structure is also in Nara. That is this temple. See, the important point, or the point we focused upon in this slide is that the upper picture is Todaiji temple, and the lower picture is a little close-up of the same temple. So, let me just show you the tiles are there. See, these are the tiles, okay? 1, 2, 3. There are 3 types. This central one, this one and this one are of same type, and the last one and last one are same type. So historically, this is a very, very important also point, in the friendship between India and Japan, because the central line, the black one, the marbles, or the stones were brought to Nara from India. So the stones were kept right in the center, from where you can go straight to the statue. Next to them are from China, and the last lane is from Korea. So, before, like, say, 1300 years ago, monk Bodhisena, he traveled all the way from India to Japan to do the opening ceremony. So it's a very, very important point between these two cities. And also, you can see deers there. Deer is considered as sacred animal in that area. So you will see hundreds of deers, roaming around near the temple, and nobody hurts them. And it's very, very strictly prohibited to, cause trouble to the deers. So, well, that's also one of the attractions tourists visit that temple. Next one. Okay, coming to the Kyoto City. Well, this is the city where I live. And the top temple, that is a golden temple. The temple is covered with gold. That's a very, very important attraction. When you visit Japan, if you don't see golden pavilion, then I think 30% 30 or 40% of that blank is there in your entire tour program. And the lower temple is also a very important temple. And the importance of this temple is that every year Japan announces one Chinese character. We call it kanji. Kan is China, Chinese, and Ji is character. And the priest of this lower temple, he writes that kanji, and that's published everywhere. And the kanji is celebrated for next 1 year. So this is also a very important place. So actually I have given just 2-3 temples slides, pictures here, but there are more than 1,600 temples all over Japan, all over Kyoto City only. So it's a cultural capital of Kyoto. See, the importance of Kyoto and Nara is so big that in the Second World War, the Allied forces, they didn't bomb only these 2 cities, because they thought if they would bomb, Kyoto and Nara, then Japan will lose everything. So even the enemies, they spared these 2 cities. They are such of important place. Next one. Coming to the last 2 pilgrimages that I'm going to talk about. Saikoku Kannon pilgrimage. Kannon means Bodhisattva in Japanese. And there are 33 temples all over, they are spread in Japan. Why 33? Because many people believe that Bodhisattva has 33 kind of moods on his face, and it's considered as, like if you visit the temple, then you feel bliss and, inner peace. So people, they start from number 1 and they complete all the 33. They start their tour wearing that upper shirt, well, kind of shirt like, cloth. And mostly they travel on foot. But those who don't have much time, they, prefer other transportation means. So, well, there are a few things written there. Pilgrims can buy, yes. There is one book called No Kyo Cho. Cho means dictionary or kind of notebook. No Kyo is the record. So they go every temple, they take one, seal of that temple, and they pay some money. Well, it's optional, and that money is used for the temple's renovation or maintenance. Next one. This is another very, very important pilgrimage. Well, this one is the most famous pilgrimage route for people when they go on, like, strictly Buddhist kind of pilgrimage plan. This route has 88 temples. You have to visit 88 places when you start this tour. Of course, it's not like, a rule that you must visit them, but when someone starts this project of taking out this tour, then they go 88 places. And many temples are found by monk Kukai. I already told about Koyasan. And they are also restored by them. Okay, next one, please. Okay, coming to the current issues that Japan is facing in Buddhist tourism. The very important and very, very kind of, troublesome points is that the temples are in trouble. Why? Because nobody is there to take care of them. Japan's population is decreasing. Other than the temples that are present in the cities, if you go to countryside areas, you will see many, many temples that are just, abandoned. Because if, like, say, the abbot, like the priest, chief priest, if he doesn't have any son, then nobody will continue his practice, right? And if somebody has to go there, then he has to go through a long, long procedure of getting that, well, it's not degree, but getting that qualification of being abbot of the priest or abbot of the temple. So many temples are, just getting ruined. So that's one problem. And these temple abbots are trying their best to attract more and more tourist people to the temples, to generate more income, and to support the manpower to be recruited for those temples. Well, they have some success, but still it's not at all sufficient. And the last one, as we are talking about tourists going from India to Japan, the bigger problem is the food problem. Because if you are in Japan, then, and if you have some food restrictions, it's very, very difficult for you to survive or, to enjoy your tour. If you are there for 3-4 days, if you cannot eat properly, you would not have that energy to go to the place and enjoy. Some people, like when they visit my city, Kyoto City, my friends, they ask me, okay, what can we eat here? I always recommend them, okay, you came all the way from India, you should enjoy Japanese food. But because anyway, when you go back, you have to eat Indian food. When I tell them there is sushi, it's a very, very popular food item in Japan, they ask me, what is sushi? I tell them it's raw fish on rice. As the moment they hear this raw fish word, they're like, oh, it's impossible. But, I take them to those restaurants, I introduce them different foods, but still, it's very, very difficult for them to adopt for those 3-4 days. That's also one problem, but that's also another point to, enjoy different culture. And also language problem. But if you go through proper kind of channel, if you have some tourists, some interpreter for you arranged, then I think it's really easy for them. I think this tourism department can play a very important role in this language problem or forming like this consultancy thing, because as Dr. Madhuri said, they are also trying for these tourism consultancy practices. I think it's a very, very, good thing in the tourist industry. Next one. Okay, now coming to the point, how these problems can be solved. As I said earlier, collaborations are needed. Japan is lacking many things that are available, in India. And India, like if India has or connects itself with different sectors of Japan, then it could be really fruitful collaboration. Like I said, university research, we have delegates here in this conference from Sri Lanka, from different places. And if some research activities are planned between these, international researchers, I think they can come up with something really fruitful solution for this problem. And also tourist companies. Well, tourist companies are there, but if the tourism department is taking care of all the consultancy things, I think they can play a role, not only research, but also supporting other consultancy services, and that would really promote tourism from India to Japan. Then city-to-city partnership. For example, Aurangabad city has historically very, very rich background. If it connects itself with some other city, of course, it's not so easy. You have to go through a big procedure, and many things are needed. But if city-to-city collaborations are formed, then that would be a really great point. Okay, I told about these collaborations, and we are right now sitting in the hall thanks to the Department of Tourism, and this is one of the great examples for this international collaborative thing, like in research. Please. Okay, Dr. Madhuri had visited Japan a few months ago, and it was my pleasure like meeting them. And Mr. Bhaiya was also with her. We really enjoyed. Mr. Bhai, sorry. And we went to the mayor's office. We had a detailed discussion with them, and also see how the cultural exchange could be done. We all went there in the traditional kimono dress, kimono outfit. That really, makes the thing very, very soft. Like the talks, and it makes the environment really friendly and fruitful. So we had a detailed discussion with them. I hope Department of Tourism, continue these actions what they have, and I am always there in Kyoto City if something comes up from this tourist department. Mr. Kadokawa, the mayor standing right in the middle, he is one of the most kind of respected personalities in Japan, and fortunately he is my very, very close friend. And he was pretty much eager to visit India 4 years ago when there was one project, but unfortunately it couldn't come to existence. But I hope someday Kyoto delegation, this tourist department, comes to tourist department here, this our Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar University, and they form some very, very strong relation between them. Well, as I told, I don't have like numbers with me, research data and all these things, but these are the things I have seen with my own eyes, and I have felt, I have experienced, and Japan is really, really good country. It's a very India-friendly country, and India is, of course, Japan-friendly country, because we also have historic relations. In 1947, India was freed from Britishers, and in 1944 and 45, the Second World War ended. We started from almost the same period, right? 45 and 47. And in those weak periods, these two countries, they supported each other. Subhash Chandra Bose or Netaji from India, he visited Japan for 9 times to take help from Japanese government to fight with British people, British army. And similarly, India also supported them in that period to get emotional support, and also getting helping them coming back in this international society seat. Now things are very much changed, but this historic kind of bond, it would always help these two countries to promote not only tourism but also industries and other economic sectors. So I think this is our last slide. Could you please go to next? Well, thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you learned 2 things about Japan. And well, if anybody wants to visit Japan as a tourist, as a researcher, or whatever, please go through Dr. Madhuri or Professor Ragde. They're always there. They are the Indian end point of that bridge we have between India and Japan, and I am standing at the other point of that bridge. We are always there to facilitate you to go travel between these 2 countries. Thank you very much once again for having me here, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Right. I'll do my best. Better I do it without the microphones. Can you all hear me? Yes. I always eat the microphone, so that's an ugly sight, so better not. This is at a very short notice. Let me see, about 30 seconds. Summing up today's presentations from an old friend and hopefully a new friend. But I would like to stretch the summing up a bit more than just these 2, and summing up also the morning's presentations. including not least the issue of the challenges of tourism to the attractions, because I come from a not religious point of view into this, in as much as my interest in religious tourism is actually the religious tourism of the non-religious people. And tomorrow, go to Ellora, I would think that most of the visitors there have a non-religious purpose. And visitors of that kind will give difficult challenges and opportunities to religious locations, where we'll have the interaction of the non-religious and the religious visitors to places. And Dr. Silva, one of your points was suggested having more low-cost flights. And at the same time, you also have the point of we need a balance between tourism, between the local population, and between there's a limit to how much a location can handle tourism-wise. Yet, we should remember that many of the peoples that come to religious locations in Europe, in where I come from, in Buddhist locations or in Hindu locations, come from other religious faiths to these places. And thus there is a need to educate these people, the non-religious or the non-religiously located people to a place. There is a need to educate these people on proper behavior. But, ladies and gentlemen, the biggest need of education of proper behavior to tourism sites is actually from people who have a completely different site but are local. I will give you a couple of examples, and that would be Indian visitors yesterday to Aurangabad caves, where I had the great assistance of one of the students here taking me there and showing some of the not correct way that local Indian tourists treated that site, where I would to some degree insulted by the throwing of rubbish or touching the effacement of hundreds or thousands of years old carvings. And a million of people doing like this on a carving will rather quickly make it disappear. So the respect for a locality is, and that's a tourism basic to me, the lack of respect by touching things that are fragile. As the gentleman told us earlier about the challenges for the archaeological survey of India, what you told us that it was a continuous fight to keep up things from degrading. So we have an international truth that the worst visitors to a place are actually often the people from the local area, whereas international visitors to a place have much more respect to it. And this goes whether religious or not. And I've seen it in so many places. So that way, one of the challenges that the two keynote speakers here at the last came up with could be supplemented by teach the local population that when they visit and use a place, they need to upgrade their scale of carefulness, if for nothing else, then also to serve as inspirators for us international visitors into what is wrong and right in the behavior. That will be a small summing up, so thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all participants. Now I request all participants and dignitaries to come on the dais for group photo.
All the students, please
All the students, all participant delegates, please come on the dais. We will have one group photo. ह्याला वर घ्यावं लागेल. ह्याला वर घ्यावं लागेल. हे नरेश स्क्रीन वर घे. नागेश स्क्रीन वर घ्यायची.
तिथे घ्या सर.
पहिले ना पुण्याचे स्टुडंट्सला बोलवा, पहिले डेलिगेट्स बोलवा, डेलिगेट्स.
Okay. As we have very small place on the dais, so we will go group wise. So first I request all delegates to come on the dais. We will have group photo with them. Then students who have come from Pune. Again we have students who have come from Riverdale School. So this way we will go in sequence for group photo. Naresh, वर घे.
अच्छा लगेगा।